Oh, here we go. We're live again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We got the boys and girls watching. Keely Broom here from sunny. Better make sure I'm. Oh, there's Bill there. G'day, Bill. Actually, my camera's playing up. Looking weird tonight on the screen here. I just checked on Facebook. On YouTube, and yes, we are live here. I'll just drop back in there. So that's all going well. Fantastic, great. Well, happy Monday to everybody. 10th of September. Want to chat about a few things tonight, obviously. But first, before we chat about anything, I'll just quickly say hello to our panel of experts, and I mean that the nicest way. Paul's not here tonight. His parents, parents-in-law, mother-in-law and father-in-law come from England, so he's entertaining them. Got to keep your in-laws happy, I think, don't you? That's a priority when you marry either your wife or your husband. So start off from I don't know where you are. Looks like you're at home, Claudia, by the look of it. Are you in Germany? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Keely. Yes, I am at home.
Okay, so that's in what's that? What's your hometown again?
My hometown is Wiesbaden.
Wiesbaden. Translated. Yeah.
It was just in the news. Remember, everywhere in the news, it was where they had built the statue of Erdogan, of the Turkish president. Basically, it was just last week in the news everywhere. My town, Wiesbaden. Some art people who wanted to cause some provocation built a 4-meter or 5-meter high statue of Erdogan, and it caused a lot of trouble. And at the end, the police had to remove it. So yeah, my city is getting famous.
What does it mean? What does that mean? Does it have any meaning? Your city name?
Well, it means like I would say the cesspit, so the queen of the cesspit, and then bad, it means a bath, so the Roman baths, because my city is of course the second wealthiest city in Germany, where all the the old rich people live, meaning the generational wealth live, and we have the bath, the terms, where the spring, it comes to the hot springs basically. You have all the Arabs, they're coming over, they get cured here, they get healed, all the clinics. So then we are on the door of the valley of the Riesling route. So the Riesling, the wine, the vineyards. So the castle route, basically the famous German castle route. Yeah, so it's a beautiful place.
All right, well, thank you. That's a bit of a history lesson there. We know where you live now and the history of your town. Well, it's always good to have you on, Claudia. So thanks for joining us again on a Monday night. It is number 55 tonight, folks. We've got quite a few watching. And we welcome this time, Bill. You managed to get on this week. Great. Where are you? What part of the world are you in at the moment, Bill?
Hi, Keith. I'm in Germany also at the present. So I flew in last week, and I'll be here until Saturday to head back to Dubai. So, yeah.
All right, fantastic.
And my daughter's heading to Australia on Saturday. Live over there from Germany, heading back to Australia to live for a few months for her first time for many, many, many years. So, which is great.
All right, awesome. Now your favourite team here, the Richmond Tigers down in Victoria, they're on top of the table. They're performing very, very well. Coming into finals football down here, it's all finals fever in Australia. The sporting world is finishing up. And your team and a couple of my teams are doing very, very well. But as far as other performances go, I want to touch on that, Bill and Claudia. Obviously, we want to give everyone a bit of an update of how the contracts are travelling as far as time-wise. Bitcoin's sitting at around about 62.80 at the moment. Depending on what calculator you go to, it probably needs to get around about 7,800 to 8,000 to get our contracts kicked back in again. And until we get to about October the 6th, which is another 26 days away, 3.5 weeks, we won't know what Genesis' final decision is, unless you or Claudia, Bill, have heard anything from them in the interim. There's a few, obviously, people are talking up, talking down, a bit of a surge, a bit of a drop. It seems to be a bit of a roller coaster for everybody at the moment, as far as people buying and selling and just taking their profits. Some of the big players, obviously, and a few. There was a mention last week that one particular business in the trading area, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, was going to set up a desk, a cryptocurrency desk. They decided to prolong that decision until they got more information or more regulation in place. So the market took a bit of a hit when that came out, that they weren't going to open a desk, a trading desk, and that was a big trading company. It might have been Goldman Sachs or something like that. It was, yeah. Okay, Claudia. my memory's shot to bits, but I do remember that. So people reacted to that. All we need is obviously a bit of positive news from somebody, and the opposite will happen. Instead of dropping 300 or 400, it'll jump up 300 or 400, 500. So we just need a bit of good news. Maybe we can fashion a bit of good news ourselves over the coming weeks. But Bill, great to have you on as usual when you can make it. Any up-to-date news you want to sort of pass on to the members while we've got you today?
Yeah, for sure, Keithy. It's always great to be on your calls when I'm available to be here. And you're speaking about the mining contract, so let's just touch on that for a moment. Of course, you mentioned Genesis Mining. I mean, it's an exceptionally sensitive subject because you've got money invested, Claudia's got money invested, we've got gobloads of money invested, and all our members out there have gobloads of money invested out there. So we're all watching this very, very closely, and none of us want this to expire. I've had calls of Genesis Mining regarding this. I mean, primarily, when these contracts were sold last year, it was a very different environment, wasn't it? It was a very, very different environment last year when they sold this. And the prices of rigs, the prices of equipment, the prices of fit-outs were multiple folds more time than what they are today. You can buy rigs today very, very inexpensive. It wasn't that case last year because Bitcoin was going crazy, and of course everyone wanted it. So demand was exceptionally high and supply was exceptionally limited. So they have a cost today. Just it's 28 particular fit out, and I visited the mining farms in Sweden. I visited the mining farms, and I must say, other than just the mining rig, you're talking mega amounts of investment to do these things. I mean, the mining rig is just one small component, to be quite honest, of a mining farm. So I'm not justifying what their level of maintenance fee is. They've always been the cheapest in the marketplace. There's no question about that compared to any other company out there. But as per their terms, of course, that's what they say. That's what they said from the very beginning. You buy in, this is what the maintenance fee is. In fact, when we first started with them, it was 35 cents a terahash back in 2016. Then they reduced it down to 28 cents, which is a significant reduction. What's that, 25, 30% or something, 25%, which is fantastic for us, put money in our pocket. But of course, this year the market's changed and we're not even making the 28 cents maintenance fee, which means we're not getting paid, which really sucks, to be quite honest, because we all like to get paid, of course. That's why we're here. That's why we bought these particular mining contracts. But, hindsight's always easy to judge and to talk about these types of things. We didn't know that. I'm sure Genesis wouldn't have known it. Why would they want to sell contracts at 28 cents mining if they know they weren't going to be profitable back then? I mean, no one knew this. I mean, the market changed incredibly, and there's so many factors that have actually changed. So we've still got some time on our side. When we get closer to this, I mean, I'm in communication with them. We'll get some clarity on it. But as it stands right now, it's as per the terms and conditions of what their contract states when we bought these particular contracts. And I accepted the terms and conditions when I bought the contracts, and I suppose everyone else has. So that's where it is now. Whether they change from that, I cannot comment on it. But all I can say is, they want to do their best to provide. But I suppose if the cost of the operation is going to be more than what it is to pay out, I suppose they've got to protect themselves. So let's see. We're not there yet. I can't make any comment either way, really, Keithy. But that's pretty much the situation of that. Regarding that, fortunately, we still have time on our side.
Yeah, that's right. It just needs a little bit of positivity from somebody and an organisation or something to spark a little bit of an upturn. The way it's jumped up and down in the last couple of months has been quite remarkable, going from up to 10, down to 7, back up to 8, up to 9, back down. The jump is quite crazy in as much as how it does. So I guess that's an opportunity that if we get the right cards laid out, then it can jump the way we want it to. Just only for 24 hours, that's all we need. Just that 24 hour to start paying again. Now I'm getting paid in my Ethereum contracts are getting paid. I got paid yesterday, actually. I received an email from Swiss Gold Global. You've been paid in Bitcoin. I wanted to touch on what you mentioned there just personally, of how I've done with Swiss Gold Global, just to give people a bit of an insight, I guess, of how I've approached this business. Any business online the last 3.5 to 4 years, which I've been involved with, I've followed your rule, Bill, even before I met you, and I never put in any more money than I can afford to lose in anything. And that's instilled in me from my parents, who are very, very conservative, but have been moderately successful in what they've done through saving, working hard and saving hard, but not wasting money. They have this mindset that if you don't need it, you don't need to spend money on it. Keep that money tucked away as a nest egg or put it into something that will return a bit of value. Don't waste money. And if you see an opportunity, test it. And that's what I was told. I learned that when I first went online from one of my first mentors, to always test a program. Never join anything that's less than 6 months old, and always test things first with a $50 or $100 or whatever, and never put in anything long-term into a business you can't afford to lose. So with Swiss Gold Global, I've done exactly the same thing. I put in a few $1,000s over time. When I first joined, I bought the package, and then I put in buying $50, $50, $50. I put a couple of $1,000s in over a few months. But any profit I made, then I did what you recommended right at the start, Bill, and I compounded, and I've done that in several other businesses. Any profit coming in, I take that profit to make more profit. And it's a compounding. That's what's called. It's take your profit and use that money, which is not yours, it's your profit, and put that back into the business and drive the business to accelerate the business, whether it be whatever you're doing. Accelerate, in my case, was buying more contracts, buying more and buying more and buying more. And I talk to people about it. So I earned some bonus hash power from talking to people. And I encourage them to do the same as me. Just put in as little as you can and compound it over a 6-month period, 180-day plan. And so I've got to the stage of the contracts I've got that I've got the money back. But the difference is that when everybody was making good returns last year, I was spending that money. I was living on Bitcoin, literally buying everything with my Bitcoin card. So everything was paid in a coin jar. And so I was living on Bitcoin and supplementing with other jobs that I had apart from Swiss Gold Global, like we all have, except for your situations because you're full-time the business for 10 years. 99% of your members here are part-time, moving into full-time as our aim. So in my case now, things have changed. So the goalposts have changed. The contracts, the price of Bitcoin and the difficulty rate has changed everything. So my plan is still the same, that all the contracts I have, I want them desperately to keep alive so I can get paid for years and years to come. But I've had to make alterations for my plan along the way. So in my case, as Bitcoin declined and my payments declined, then I've looked for other sources of income to supplement to keep myself alive. and that's I've in the house here. I've got 2 rooms Airbnb. So I have people from all over the world. I have the banner down here. The first thing they see when they walk in the front door, I say, well, I work from home and I'll do this, and I do Bitcoin. So I'm actually, anyone who comes and stays here, I target them for for Bitcoin, whether they realise it or not, which is quite good in some ways, because I've had quite a few people trying to understand what Bitcoin is, so I explain them, so I give them a bit of a rundown. But I've also taken the opportunity to drive Uber for a few days a week to top up my income that I'm not getting as well. So, which is another opportunity, believe it or not, because as soon as my car gets above 10 kilometres, the doors automatically lock. They click the lock, right? So then people say, well, what do you do apart from Uber driving? So, well, let me tell you about Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin and whatever. Because the doors are locked, they can't get out, even at the traffic lights. I've got a captive audience there. So I'm actually using these 2 opportunities to tell people about the business, whether they realise it or not, and they can't get away. So I've actually picked up a few members who joined my team through Airbnb and through Uber driving, through talking to them. And when I go and buy a coffee, use my card acceptor. So I've sort of adapted as I got along. So I want to impress to people watching that we are in a bind at the moment, but you have to really open your eyes to carry on what you're doing as your normal Monday to Friday, if you have a Monday to Friday job, or if you have maybe a couple of things online, just stay focused on keeping up to date with what's going on. But obviously you've got to have that 100% energy driving you along, and the never give up, never give in mentality has to come to the fore now, that when things are getting a little bit tougher than they would, but like we'd all like them to be, you really got to dig your heels in. You've got to be more focused. You've got to talk specifically and find specific people by joining meetup groups in your local area and connecting with people who are like you, determined like you, and making friendships with them, because things will come good. They always will. Life is always like that. If you have that positive mindset, then things will always come good for you, because you're putting yourself in that frame of mind. Here's an example of just a friend of mine today, who's from Bulgaria, and she's been in Australia about 2.5 years now. She's a very strong Bulgarian woman, very strong, very fit, extremely fit. She lived in Cyprus as a lifeguard. Now she's doing a chef's course, and she's paid in Australia, this is very interesting as well, over the last 2.5 years, over $40,000 in class fees to do. It's not a university degree. This is just to become a chef. She had to pay to learn English at a college, because the government now in Australia used to do it through government TAFE courses, or a government-run entity. They've all outsourced that to private business now in Australia. So if you want to learn English, or you want to learn how to be a mechanic, or learn how to be a chef, or learn how to be a plumber or electrician, you have to go to a private company, and you have to pay through their courses now. And I picked up a guy, Uber, a Chinese guy, young guy, who's studying to be a lawyer here in Australia. He pays $100,000 a year in course fees, $100,000 a year. My friend who's learning to be a chef, she's paid over $40,000 over the last couple of years to learn English, and now she's doing a chef's course. And what's affecting her right today, because she came to me for help, her teacher is similar age, a little bit younger, no, a bit older than her, but her life is in turmoil at the moment, this teacher, because my friend can tell that. And now she's getting a lot of negativity and pressure put on her about the course notes and everything she has to do, because this person is a bad frame of mind. Their life is in turmoil. So the negativity spinning off this woman onto my friend is really starting to get my friend down. I said, you just got to, let's work out a plan how we can segregate this teacher and get away from her negativity and go to the management and get around this, so you don't get drawn in and lose energy, and because I could tell she's going downwards. So in times of stress and strain in different areas and different businesses, we're in a business, my friend's in a business learning to be a chef in this massive industry. She's in private education here in Australia. You can be affected by someone who's negative. The great thing about yourself, Bill and Claudia, that you're just rays of positivity about the opportunities ahead. And we need that. We need that for you. And it's the great thing about Swiss Gold Global and our new company name coming up, and the new opportunities coming in the next 2 to 3 months, which will really kickstart everything for everyone energy-wise. We just need that positivity. So just a reflection on my situation. I've adapted. I'm remaining positive like you wouldn't believe. Any comments from people watching, throw them in their chat box there for Bill and Claudia. Answer, go ahead, folks. Let me know if you're positive. They've got a few watching now. Are you positive, yes or no? It's always good. Honesty is the best policy. So times are a little bit tough at the moment. Bitcoin's alive. Blockchain's steaming ahead with companies adopting it. What's your thoughts on Claudia? I know you've been through ups and downs. You know, your story of escaping East Germany over the wall. Wow, that's just phenomenal. So this is easy for you, Claudia, all these little ups and downs compared to what you've been through as a young child, to be forced into what's happened with you. Everyone's got to be positive in this right now, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be. I mean, like, that's the point. You know, people are so they very often they make the decision, and you made a very wise decision. And I have been always talking about, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I did actually take profit. I always did convert it into gold, because gold is, of course, a long-term tangible. It's insurance policy. But no, I mean, positivity is really important. Like, anything can happen to me, but I'm still going to be positive, because I know there's always things which can be worse. I remember Bill always talks about the dot-com, the 2000, of course, when the big crash came. And you know what? I was invested in that as well. So my mother had my sister, she had an accident when she was 18, which left her, you know, basically disabled, and she was half a year coma, and she got to pay for that, of course, you know, for insurance of around $500,000. Well, back then it was marks, and so my mother had put everything into different shares in the dot-com bubble, but she wouldn't listen to me, and I said, you got to get out. She made really, well, she was supposed to make really great money out of them, but she didn't. And so she left them in, and then it was too late. Of course, the crash came, and she lost everything. So meaning, this is harsh. This is, you know, other people, you know, I guess some people, they would just jump through the roof or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But that's just, you know, things which could happen in your life, but you move on, and you move ahead. And then just to give you a little bit of another insight, maybe I shouldn't, but why not? So then my mother, she was married to an idiot, so to speak. Sorry, but I'm Frank. I'm German, and she could separate it from him. He took everything away, everything. So she had nothing left. So who was there? The daughter, myself. This guy would take everything out. He would falsificate all the papers. He would empty the bank accounts, everything. She was 14 years together with him, and she was just little less than 2 years married. And he was a very bad person, like a very bad, abusive person. But hey, we go through those things. I guess it's God's challenging us somehow. And, you know, it's just a lesson to learn. And she's now the happiest 72-year-old who is traveling with me all the time. And is just happy, and is just living her life. She's in Hamburg now, probably there on the Reeperbahn. I don't know. You know, Hamburg Reeperbahn. And she's the happiest person. She's very fit. She's very motivated, but she lost everything. And she got back on her feet, back on track. Now, with of course, so you go through ups and downs. It's all your mindset. What do you do with that? Are you gonna blame others? Are you gonna blame the company? Are you gonna blame Bitcoin? Are you gonna blame the contracts, or what? Or are you gonna move on? And are you gonna be positive about it? So I'm very positive about it. I know we have great things coming up, and I do believe definitely in the Bitcoin concept. So all the people, the money they made. So I believe to hold on. I'm a hodler. I'm a holder. I believe in the underlying concept of it. So I believe it's gonna, in a few years, we will reap the profits of that. Well, now it's not looking good at the moment, but all the other contracts pay. My Dash, my Ethereum, my Litecoin, my Monero, my Zcash contracts are paying. It is really just the Bitcoin, which is of course the heaviest part. But yeah, we got to make the positive about that. So we have great things coming up, as I said, with no difficulty rate, which I believe will be a huge turnaround. Now, Bill decided not to go, a way which is some other companies. Of course, what they do, they just reinvent a product, but it's actually no product behind. He has been always a very solid person. That's why we also don't have new contracts now available. So we're working on some really great concepts, which I believe will, if you work the concept, if you, of course, do it, it can change certainly your life, because those are products which have been there since ages, since centuries, I guess. And it's going to be really great. So I'm really excited.
Okay. Great story about the power and positivity. Is your camera still off, Claudia, or maybe
my camera is actually on.
All right, so we just got your image there, seeing you. So maybe, not quite sure what's going on there. Anyway, I can see you, but that wasn't coming through on the screen there.
But could
Bill,
you hear me?
Yeah.
Could you hear me?
Yeah. Held it loud and clear. Yeah, absolutely. Now, just got a couple of questions here. Abdus would like a quick review of the gold market, Bill, and Estelios still believe in Bitcoin, but definitely the clock is ticking regarding the current market not catching up to 7,500. I've just used Alice Comp. Now that may be close to accurate or maybe not. It's showing about 8,000 US to get to paying 29 cents. So maybe that first question, Bill, about the gold market, how's that traveling, and the positivity of around that. Obviously, that's going to go at some stage, but about $8,000 we need to get to for our contracts to go live again, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Keithy. Thanks, Claudia. Thanks, Agnes, for your question. Yeah, listen, I'm a very positive person, but if you're the captain of the ship and you're facing a storm, being just positive is not just the answer, is it? I mean, if there's a storm, if there's an inevitable storm in front of you, you just can't ignore it and have positive thinking. You need to be prepared for this. You don't go into a long cruise with water rations, food rations for 6 months, and all of a sudden expend all your resources in the first week or 2 weeks. You're not going to survive the journey, correct? And this is how I see things. I think the most important thing before I answer the question on gold is that, you've got to keep moving in life. One thing I learned this from SAS, Special Air Services, military person many years ago, back in the late 70s, early 80s. He said, "You want to survive in combat, you've got to keep moving in one sense, whatever." And I think the biggest risk is to do nothing in life. It's easy to sit still and to be idle, be judgmental and this and that, and just live the status quo, let the government take care of your pension type thing. If that's the life that you want, so be it. But I can tell you right here and now, it's not the life that I want. I don't care about the governments. I'm responsible for my life. I'm responsible for feeding myself, my family, and the life that I live. And therefore, I'll do things, and I'll step outside the box to actually achieve that. Now, there's a famous quote by a great American psychiatrist, Rollo May, who said the opposite of courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. And I believe that, I'm a great believer in that quote. It's easy to conform. But all you people on this call here are non-conformists. You're looking for something. You're looking for things to improve your life. We all need cash flow. There's no question about that whatsoever. And sometimes, we do things with good intentions, but sometimes the dots just don't line up, which is really a frustration. That's why, as Keithy said in his story, and even Claudia, is that just like the captain of a ship, you don't use all your rations 6 months supply in the first 1 or 2 weeks. You need to know what your resources are. You need to preserve them. It's risk management, very basic common sense. But the challenge is, if we have greed and these emotional things get in, this is the one thing that's going to set me free of my life. This is where we make foolish decisions, and that's a real tragedy. I've been there myself, done the same thing back in the 1990s, just like Claudia's mum unfortunately did as well. But this is why diversification is really important, and this is what we're working on right now. And I tell often the story of Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't want to bore people with the same old story, but I met him in Australia, in Melbourne, in the 1990s, and there was 1,200 people in the room, and he got up and he was telling his story about the rich dad and the poor dad, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, at the end of the particular presentation, he put his little cap on. He says, this is my capitalist cap, and tomorrow morning I'm going to teach you people how to take a private company public, and there's upside to it. There's a potential benefit for you. It's a 5-year plan. Don't put money in you cannot afford to lose. Minimum investment is $25,000 US. Back then it was about 34,000 Australian, I think it was. Anyway, I said to my younger brother Julian, who you've met, Keithy, of course, and Claudia knows him, that I'm going to be there. And 1,200 people in the room, so I showed up really early. I thought, wow, 1,200 people there. I'm going to get a front row seat. Even if I didn't have the money to invest, I wanted to go there to get his knowledge. I wanted to download what this guy knew that I didn't know, So I went there, and of course, out of 1,200 people, 9 people showed up. For a reason, many people would have had to work, maybe there's family commitments, but really for 9 people out of 1,200, it's pretty pathetic. They're all there to learn about wealth generation and to do different things, but not many people make action. You people make action, yes, and sometimes we've gone into things, and some of us have done very well out of Bitcoin mining. At the moment, we still have the contracts, but they're not where we want to be. But the point I'm coming back to is diversification. So I bought into 2 of Robert's, I think I spent about 75,000 US. I shouldn't say the word spent. Spent means it's gone. I invested, I believe money's there to circulate. So I invested 75,000 US into Robert's 2 projects. Actually, one completely collapsed, lost everything in that, which I was pretty peeved. I could use other words, but that was the way I was pretty peeved about that, because no one likes to use the word loss. And with that, because I also bought into his other project, those shares today, I don't have them actually. I transferred to my children a couple of years ago. They still own those shares. It's, 20, 25 years ago, and it's a rock solid company, and it's listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And in their lifetime, they or their grandchildren, or my grandchildren, or their children could do very well out of it. But they're still owning it, and it's still there, and it's a rock solid company. So this is what we're working on right now. We're working on things right now, and as Claudia said, it's very exciting. It's a lot of stuff we've got to work through, especially on the regulatory side. But these relationships that are built over the years, these people I'm working with right now, are known since 2004. In fact, I've told the story before, so again, I don't want to bore people who've heard this time and time again, but maybe there's new people on the call for the very first time. But back in 2004, I flew to Zurich, Switzerland, met up with a precious metal, gold person, Agnes, to talk about gold and silver. I never knew anything about gold and silver back then, had no idea whatsoever. I wasn't educated about money or what gold was. I just thought it was something you hang around your head, put on your finger, I didn't understand it as a currency in one respect. But anyway, I was introduced to the world of gold and silver. I was also introduced to an energy fund in one respect. I invested over $1 million Australian dollars, which is a lot of money today, a lot of money back in 2004. But before I did that, I did my due diligence. I hopped on an aircraft. I flew over to America, went to Louisiana and different Baton Rouge and different places around. I went to the oil sites. I went to the gas sites. Made sure what these guys were telling me was the real deal. It just wasn't BS, because I wasn't going to get caught out twice like I was during the .com boom. And so it was a great learning experience, and that did very, very well for me. Anyway, these relationships that I built, and are still good, strong relationships today, we're working with these people today. We're working with these people today where I've actually put over $1 million of my own money with these people, okay, which is, I'm not bragging here. I'm just telling you this is the trust I have in these people. And we're working on the concept now that we believe that will be very sustainable. One, it's going to generate short-term commissions for our members, and two, it's going to have strong potential upside. Now, I'm not going to say it's pretty rich, you're going to make a gobload of money out of it, but I think over a long period of time, I'm talking, this could actually feed people, and they could do very, very well from this, generating potential returns from it. So this is what we're working on right now, and we want to make this available to all people. That was really the whole idea of Swiss Gold Global, was to be able to provide the money of kings to ordinary people. I consider myself ordinary. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. So we make it available for the average person from as little as $25 to be able to save in gold and silver. Now, why would you want to do that, Agnes? Because it's diversification. We look at the Australian dollar, the inflation on the Australian dollar. I was back in Australia back in July this year. The cost of living there, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I sold my house in Brighton, Melbourne, which is a affluent suburb. I sold it for a mega number. It did exceptionally well. Nice tax-free investment. But to buy back in there, I'd need double the money again. To be quite honest, it's quite relative in that particular respect, But I owned hotels in Melbourne, and so I'd sell, obviously, food. I'd sell beverages. But just the cost of food and beverage in Australia has really increased. So why is that? Are we wealthier? When I look at statistics in Australia, the answer to that is, on the illusionary side, possibly yes, because our houses have a higher value, but where Australia is one of the, I think it's the highest indebted country per capita, which is significant. And so why gold and silver? Well, because our currencies consistently lose buying power. Gold's not an investment for me. It's just an insurance policy. It's probably, I've always said on your calls, Keithy, and I know Claudia mentions this too, is that gold's just a pure diversification. We're not telling people to sell their houses and put all their assets into gold or silver. That would be a silly thing to do. But gold and silver is highly liquid, which is really, really important. If you want to preserve its protection against the loss of purchasing power of your currency, whether you're owning whatever paper currency you have, Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, US dollars, euro. To own a bit of gold and silver is fantastic. So when I buy gold and silver, for me, it's a long-term thing again, just like the Kiyosaki. It's 3, 4, 5 years, maybe even longer. It's a hedge against inflation, because the longer you hold on to your Aussie dollars, the less it's going to buy. In fact, the Aussie dollars you have in your wallet or your purse or your bank account right now, in the next 10 years, is probably going to buy half than what it does today. So every $1,000 that you have today, in 10 years from now, you're going to need double that to buy the same amount of goods and services. That's why we buy gold and silver. But again, it should be a small part of it. And maybe when I was introduced to this back in Zurich in 2003, 2004, I was told the financially elite, rulers of empires, kings and queens, whatever, they diversify their paper wealth into gold, and may only be 3 to 5% of their cash holding. And that's smart, not putting everything in. But the great thing about it is highly liquid. If you put $1,000 under or $10,000 under your bed on the Gold Coast and put the same equivalent amount of gold in value under your bed today and went back to it in 10 years' time, well, your Aussie dollars is only going to have purchasing power of $5,000, but the gold will have the same purchasing power as it does today. And that's really the reason that we actually own that. Now, at the moment, the US dollar is very strong, and gold is down. Actually, silver's down. I mean, I can't believe, given the geopolitical situation of the world, what's going on with trade wars, currency wars, I mean, crazy foreign policies from different countries around the world. It's incredible that the gold price is where it is. Many professionals believe that it should be much, much, much higher compared to the US dollar. But with that, we also know that it's highly manipulated as well. I mean, there's proof there that that's the case. So the question is, why should you own gold and silver then if it's manipulated in pricing, blah, blah, blah? But again, it's a long-term view. It's a long-term, it's part of a saving process where you're saving in something that's going to preserve your purchasing power over a long period of time. And again, it's a small part of your holding. Maybe it's 5%. And depending on position, maybe people have some more in that respect. But it's highly liquid and it preserves your wealth. We had, in fact, interesting, I got a message on Facebook earlier on, just before you messaged me, Keithy, from a man, Michael Harias, out of, I think it's Slovenia or Slovakia, somewhere like that. And he was a student, been with us for many years, actually. He was a student. And he told the story at one of our live presentations that his grandmother in that part, Central Europe, I suppose, was saving towards him when he finished his education. He must be maybe in his mid now, possibly. Years get past. And the grandmother was saving money for him to go to university. Now, of course, as we know, many parts of the world there's been currency, bank crashes, currency crashes, etc. Well, that's what happened in this part of the world. His grandmother's savings went to zero, pretty much. So everything that she saved for all those years for her grandson was worth zippo. Yet, if she had the knowledge about putting part of that savings into gold and silver, she would have still had something of solid value to diversify into a different currency and being able to put her grandson through probably university. So this is why we do it. Now Australia is quite unique because we really haven't been through those experiences of other parts of the world, but these experiences are absolutely real, absolutely real. Venezuela right now is over 1,000,000% inflation, okay? But coming back to Agnes's question, none of us have a crystal ball. If you look at the experts regarding gold, they all say the same thing. It's an insurance policy in one sense. And they believe that I've got echo here. And they believe that the price should be much higher than where it is today. But that doesn't mean it's going to be higher. I mean, the trend is your friend. You can't go against the trend. But if you're buying some gold and silver, do it for the long term. That's really the most important. And don't think you're going to get a quick return on that. It's about wealth preservation. And silver, it'll be an Ethereum ERC223 token, which means which is fantastic for many parts of the world who don't have bank accounts. People will be able to buy gold and silver on the blockchain through the Ethereum ERC223. And if you just like you buy gold and silver from us now, so this time it's going to be on the blockchain and it's going to be on a token, which means it's also fantastic for people who have all these different crypto coins. Because on the exchanges, they'll be able to, in time, be able to liquidate some of these other crypto coins into a token that's actually 100% backed by gold and silver. So that's also fantastic as well. We're also working, as I said, I just alluded to earlier on, with a unique team, which I've known for a long time now, that we believe is going to be able to I know is going to be able to generate short-term revenues for our members. You know, when you refer it, you're going to get referral income, but you're referring something that has something there that's solid. It's just not a bag full of air and a story. It's something that's solid behind it. So this is what we're working on right now, Keithy. So that's a bit of a long story, but I congratulate everyone here. Yes, none of us like to have the pain of seeing things not going in our way and maybe losing some money because these contracts, whatever may happen with them, we still own them right now. So I'm not saying we're going to lose them, but you know, it's part of it. But the most important thing is you have the courage to step out from the status quo and to have a vision of living a good life than just putting up with being comfortable in one sense, not being able to move and just accept what most people do. I'm not a person, and I don't believe any person on this particular call is a person who just wants to accept the status quo and just be herded like sheep and live like sheep. This definitely is not my go, and I know it's not your go either, Keithy.
No, you're right there, Bill. There was a very long answer to that question and full of valuable information as well. But what we derive from your attitude, as we always do, Bill, is that you're not leaving any stone unturned for the members. You're trying to make things the best possible as far as ease of learning the business, ease of opportunity. Now, one little caveat to what you talked about gold and silver. Alistius has said, what's your thoughts about the gold and silver price suppression? Have you got any thoughts about why gold and silver has been held down for probably a few years now? I heard over a year ago that it would be a breakout of gold and silver. Gold would go to 4,500, silver would shoot up to $600, and that was on the back of Bitcoin soaring through to 20,000. But it really hasn't happened for gold and silver. Is that under more control than the crypto? Obviously, then cryptocurrency is deregulated and people are playing with it up and down at the moment. But what's your thoughts, just to answer Alistios's question there about the suppression bill?
Well, Alistios, probably knows a lot about it, because it's a good question that has been asked here. There's no question about it. It's been intentionally done, and maybe it's part of the Chinese. Maybe it's part of the Russians, because a lot of these countries are actually liquidating a lot of their own currency. I mean, liquidating US dollars and converting it to gold as well. And it's better to do that at low prices rather than high prices, correct, in one respect. If you go to GATA, which is the Gold Antitrust Association, now Philip Judge, who many of you on this call is familiar with, and I'll be meeting him in Dubai next week. He's been associated with GATA for a very long time. In fact, Philip just spoke in London at a gold event on the 5th, which is a week ago now, nearly 5 days ago. There's no question about this goes on. The sovereign bullion banks they want you to believe in the paper currency. They don't want you to believe in gold. Gold has been a currency. Gold has been money for 5,000 years. They don't want you to believe in gold. They want you to believe in their paper issued currency, whether it be US dollar, whatever it might be, which is backed by Zippo. This is just backed by belief that it has a value, and that is really it. And the challenge of it, of course, is that there's no limitation to the printing. I mean, you look at this. We were talking about Australia here earlier on. If you look at the Reserve Bank, look at the M1 money supply, M2 money supply increase at the Reserve Bank of Australia, you'll see that they've increased the monetary supply by 2 or 3-fold in the last 10, 15 years. And that's exactly the reason why your housing prices and everything else has gone up that amount as well, because the money supply has been increased. As the money supply increases, also does inflation, the cost of goods and services. But yeah, it's been suppressed, no question. But eventually, the fundamentals in the world have not changed. The world is burdened with debt. Sovereign nations are broke. There's no question about that. And they're in deep, deep, deep trouble. There's no coincidence that there's these trade wars going on, these currency wars are going on. And we have more debt now and in a worse situation bubble than what we believe it was in 2008. Now, they've got to try and keep this together, of course, and they want to keep the US dollar strong. But we see countries around the world, of course, saying that, you see now Turkey, you see Russia, of course, you see China, and many other countries, of course, Indonesia, even Australia did a deal with China going back maybe 4 years ago. Now they did over a $30-40 billion currency swap deal where they could exchange goods and services trade in their own currency. They didn't have to use US dollars, because historically it was always US dollar that did world trade when it came to commodities. Now countries are saying, we don't want to use the US dollar. It is inflationary. And plus your policy of squeezing us, we don't like to be in control. I mean, that's the whole idea of being the reserve currency. But things never stay the same forever. I mean, the US dollar's only been reserve currency since the 1944, whatever, is the Bretton Woods Agreement. Before that was the British pound. I think it was the Dutch guilder before that. So things change, and every 40 years or so, roughly, there's a change of reserve currency. So the US certainly don't want to let go of that status, of the reserve currency status, but because the SWIFT banking system accounts for probably 75 to 80% of world global transactions, they have a strong grip of it, and they are not going to let go of that easily. This affects gold plays into this big time. Now, there's a book out by James Rickards. He wrote maybe 7 years ago now. He's done many books, The Death of Money and blah, 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 but The Case for Gold, he did that book as well. James sits on the board with Philip Judge's Physical Gold Fund. He actually sits on the board there of that particular Physical Gold Fund of Philip Judge, who I work with, who I'll be meeting next week. And he wrote the book Currency Wars. And some of you may have actually heard of the book Currency Wars. Agnes, and the person who asked the question, if you like this particular type of subject, get the book Currency Wars by James Rickards, Rickards. And he was invited by the Pentagon going back maybe 8 years ago to actually do war games. But instead of using warships and guns and bombs, they wanted to use financial instruments to simulate how you could bring down the US as a nation. And gold played a very significant role in that. And now pretty much what he's written in that book is pretty much coming to play. This is based on a true story. So it's a good book. It gives you some insights, but gold is complex. The world is complex, totally complex. I travel the world a lot. I try and understand all these decisions, these things, what's going on a scale. And for us people on our level who aren't in that, in that position of making governmental decisions, etc., it is truly complex. But the one thing that I do know, it's always the people that pay. When the shit goes down, It's the people that pay and bail out banks and different things. And as I alluded to in one of my previous calls with you, you just saw earlier this year, you have the bail-in law now from banks in Australia, which I'm sure no one knew about this in Australia. It wasn't on your current affairs show or Good Morning Australia saying the banks have just done a deal, and if the banks go down, we're going to take money out of your account. This is law now. It's law. It's been passed by the Australian government, but they don't advertise this. So they'll protect their position very, very well. And in the end, the people were the ones to pay. And this is one of the reasons when you own gold, when you own physical gold, I don't care if you get it from the Perth Mint or wherever you're going to get it from, it's good to have some, because if something does go down, it's an insurance policy, and you've got some gold hidden or stored somewhere or some silver, you've got money. It's unencumbered. It's not someone else's debt. This is really the reason why you do own it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Historically, this is what's happened. You know, inflation is designed to transfer wealth away from you back to the central banking system, and that's exactly what it does. Even at 2% inflation. Now, first of all, the inflationary figures, you're getting me on the subject now, Keithy. First of all, the inflationary figures that they tell you is total BS. It doesn't include food items, and it doesn't include energy items. Now, when you look at what electricity probably costs you in Queensland on a monthly basis, what it comes out of your pay, what it comes out of your pension, or whatever it comes out of your wages is quite significant just to be able to pay your utilities in one sense. Food items are not included, so they factor in food items and utility items. It's probably up to 8 or 9%. Now, 8 or 9% inflation, it means every 8, 9, or 10 years your currency is buying less than half of what it is. That's pretty much what's happening. Even with the US dollar, it's the same deal, but the US will tell you their inflation is only 1.9 or 2%. That's the illusionary. They changed their calculation back in 1980. You know, but my point, being a layman, being a person that wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth and wants to learn how this big mega system works, but want to be able to live a good life, is I know that understanding money is really important, and having multiple sources of income is truly important. Having hard assets is truly important, and being able to preserve some of that wealth in case these people in these positions to be don't do the right thing, and most of the times they don't do the right thing for the people, is that you are protected. That's really what I believe, that you're protected and you live a good, fulfilled life. I mean, you have the freedom. If you want to fly back to New Zealand to see family, you should have the ability to do that. If you want to fly here to see your grandchildren, you should have the ability to do that. You shouldn't be limited always, because you've limited retirement pension. You work 40 years of your life, and then you live on some shitty pension that gives you no freedom whatsoever. I just don't buy into that. So I'm more of an activist than anything else. I'm very passionate about providing systems for people where they can generate multiple sources of income and build wealth over time in a sustainable way, not by screwing other people. We don't always get it right. We do things with good intentions, and but you've got to be out there. You've got to be out trying things. It's better to try things than not knocking on doors and looking at all. You know, in one sense. So this is pretty much my attitude, Keithy.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you got that attitude, Bill, because what you're right. You're very right in saying there's a lot of the people watching agree about the things changing, and unfortunately, it's like technology. Technology now is changing every 3 to 6 months. It's just accelerating, and along with that, the world we're living in and the regulations, the requirements, and the governmental way they go about doing business is changing rapidly as well. And unfortunately, we don't get much of a say in the big picture, as you say. And if you understand money, gold and silver, now this new money, cryptocurrency, you have an understanding of that and the blockchain, and how that can affect you on a personal level in a positive way. That's the information we need to get out to as many people. Alistius just mentioned Venezuela. We don't want to start Claudia on Venezuela, or the call will be going for another 3 or 4 hours. And we're already gone up to just close to an hour now. But the overall message I keep getting from you, Bill, ever since I've known you over a year now, is that you've created Swiss Gold Global to help people on a one-to-one member basis by providing systems of income that will benefit them so they can live a better life. And not reliant on the government for handouts, not reliant on big corporations to look after them, which never really happens. And obviously living or earning a great income with the least amount of effort possible in a true way, not working 80, 90, 100 hours a week for minimum wage. So we're all with you, Bill and Claudia, on this journey. We've got a bit of a bump in the road at the moment. We've got other opportunities coming up that will help members on a one-to-one basis. But the knowledge we're gaining in this journey is very important for people to understand as well, that the knowledge you have, you know, telling us that you put $1 million of your own money into the new venture is a testament to that you trust the people that you're doing business with. You have formed relationships with these great entrepreneurs in their own right, and you're tapping into the knowledge and the expertise to benefit this business, which will benefit us overall. So we thank you for putting your $1 million in, Bill.
Just on that, Keithy, just to correct you there, the $1 million I put in was, of course, we're investing a lot right now, but that was back in 2004.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure any time you put $1 million into anything, Bill, you've got to make the decision pretty well with a level head. You can't go throwing $1 million at things and fingers crossed you'll go okay, mate. That's the Aussie. I'll put $1 million on a horse in the Melbourne Cup when there's 24 runners. When there's 24 runners, Bill. So the decisions you made have got you to where you are right now in 2018. And the decisions you're making on a daily basis with the people you're interacting with will benefit us, I believe, very strongly in 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, because we do have to think in 12, 24 and 36 month blocks of where we're going to be. And, you know, you can't go, well, I've had a bad week. Businesses don't say they've ever had a bad week. They have a bad month or a bad quarter or a bad half year projection, or they have a bad year, 12 months or 24 months. It's always a larger picture that they're looking at. And I think we need to sort of look at that as well. The only thing immediately we need to worry about is what's going to happen in 26 days as far as Bitcoin price. And then when we get down close to the last 2 or 3 days, obviously we'll pin Genesis Mining down to a decision when we get really close to the cutoff point to whether they make rock solid decision to null and void the contracts, or maybe extend that out a little bit because of what Claudia said, that all the equipment is now much cheaper. Everything is cheaper to do and produce, that they may say, well, on reflection, we'll extend that a little bit, because obviously they've got 2 million customers of which we're part of. They don't want to make that decision lightly, and I don't think they will. So to finish off, because it's over, it's an hour now, Claudia. I think you went away for a 5-minute sleep while Bill was talking, did you, or something? You went somewhere, but all great information. Final, Claudia, what do you reckon?
Well, I wasn't actually running away for 5 minutes. I was looking actually for the book Currency Wars, but I couldn't find it in all my books. I have read it. So I found the other book, which of course, one of this, my first books, really to understand gold. This was actually written by Philip. And as you see here with, you know, the personal note from Philip, which is really interesting stories here, stories of a bullion banker. And he really gave a very amazing understanding of gold. This is how I basically learned everything about gold and silver. So yeah, I mean, get this book if you I don't know, Amazon or wherever you're gonna get it. Really great book. And if you like to read, if you like to understand money, well, this is certainly one you would want to read. It's stories from a desk of a bullion banker. Very, very good insights. And that is why I actually always diversified part of my income. I always did into gold or silver because, again, to have an insurance policy when those days come. But on a positive note, of course, I'm excited to what's come. And very excited to what's going to come, very, very much looking forward to. And yes, I mean, keep the faith on Bitcoin. I mean, I do. And if the mining goes well, it goes where it's bad. We had a really great year out of it, amazing year. All those people who came on later. Yeah, we got to cover that's just the way it is, you know. There's other opportunities, and you shouldn't that throw away the hope. You know, that's maybe have been a best lesson for people. What can I say? I mean, I believe in Bitcoin. I think it's going to go very well, but in a few years to come. So I believe it's going to be long term there.
Okay, well, we've got a number of hangouts yet till the October the 6th, that the date. The Monday the 1st in 3 weeks' time will be, or 2 weeks' time from now will be, so it's the 17th next week, 21st. Oh no, the week, 3 weeks. So what am I thinking? So it's 20 days, 26 days. Yeah, that's 3 weeks, yeah. So 3 weeks today will be the 1st of October for our hangout. We'll know a better picture by then. So we've still got a few weeks to go. We just need to hope that rally, a bit of good news, as one of our members said, anything can happen in the bull and bear market. We just need a bit of positive news from some corporation or people, and bang, up she goes and everyone jumps on. So thank you, Claudia, again for your time from lovely sunny Germany. Thank you for jumping on. Bill, thanks for your insight again. You'll be in Dubai next week, so we may or may not get you on the call.
I'll be in Dubai, so depending on the connections there, sometimes the hotels aren't so good, but I'll certainly make myself available. I love to be on your calls and be in connection with our members around the world. I know the pressure's on right now, and we all feel it, of course. So I'm here to give you any information that I do have. So once again, thanks you for hosting these calls, Keithy.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. Thanks for jumping on, the pair of you. It's over an hour now. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and some great feedback today from people watching. Really appreciate that. We're a positive bunch. Everyone here is positive. You two are positive through the roof. I know a lot of people I talk to, a lot of people I associate myself with are positive, because I only want to be around those type of people. I don't want to be around negative people. So it's just draws to, we only got 100% of energy in our bodies. We want to use that for good. We don't want people dragging part of your energy out away from where you need it. So just associate.
No parasites, no leeches, Keithy.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. They're everywhere. Here's just to finish off finally, the lady I spoke, my friend, I said, this teacher is trying to drag the negativity, the energy out of you, is just pointing the finger of blame at you. I said, she's saying, you should be doing this work. You should be doing that. Why didn't you do that? In other words, instead of rolling the hand over and the three fingers are pointing back at the real problem of not explaining what was required, not outlining what work she had to do, there's no reason to give it. Just an easy point the finger of blame. So don't point the finger, folks. Just be positive in everything you do. Associate with those positive people. We've got two of the best here in our company, Swiss Gold Global. So thanks for joining us Monday night. Or Monday morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world, or Sunday morning, wherever it might be, Sunday night. We'll see you on the next one. That's 55 done and dusted over a year. We're still going strong as far as mentality-wise. Just need a bit of a kick up with BTC. So we'll see what happens in the next 7 days. We'll see you next Monday. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week, positive-wise. See you soon, folks. Bye-bye.